Before the resurrection, they believed in animal sacrifice. After the resurrection, they gave up the whole thing and said, you know what, Christ's sacrifice is enough. They give up 1,500 years of this for Christ's sacrifice. Before they believed in a binding law of Moses. Afterwards, they believed in Christ's life fulfilled the binding law of Moses. Before they believed in strict monotheism. Afterwards, they believed a Trinity, 3 persons in one divine essence. I know the Trinity is hinted at in the Old Testament, but it's much clearer in the New. Before they believed in the Sabbath. In fact, they thought they could be stoned for not obeying the Sabbath, but here they are getting together on Resurrection Sunday, the first day of the week. Before they believed in a conquering Messiah. Afterwards, they believed in a sacrificial Messiah. Before they believed in circumcision. Afterwards, they believed in baptism and communion. Now, here's my question. Why would these pious Jews who thought they had a 2,000-year-old relationship with the God of the universe, remember these Jews thought they were God's chosen people. All of the New Testament writers, save Luke, were Jews. Why would they decide to abandon everything on the left for everything on the right virtually overnight? The only thing I can think of is what psychologists call an impact event. What's an impact event? An impact event is something that impacts you so deeply, it can cause you to change your perspective 180 degrees, and it can cause you to remember things till the day you die. When an impact event occurs to you, you never forget the details. You can forget what you did yesterday, but you'll never forget what happened on that impact event day. Give you a couple of examples. Only a few of you in this room will be able to tell me this, but it happened not far from here. Where were you November 22nd, 1963? If anyone in here can remember where you were and what you were doing, raise your hand. All right, look at all the hands in the room. It's my earliest memory. But anyway, there I was, 2 years old in 2 days. I can still remember this. I'm standing in the living room. My mother is sitting on an ottoman in front of a TV, and she's weeping uncontrollably. I said, Mommy, what's the matter? What's the matter? She said, they killed the president. They killed the president. I can still see her right now in my mind when she was 25 years old. She's 73 right now. That was 48 years ago. I can still see that. Impact event, President Kennedy assassinated. Where were you when the second plane hit the tower? You remember where you were in 9/11? I can't. I was on the phone to a pastor in northern Charlotte. I live in southern Charlotte. And he wanted me to come speak to his church about some particular topic, and we were talking about it. And I said, hey, you got the TV on? He goes, yeah. I said, something went into the World Trade Tower. He goes, I know, I got it on. I had my back to the TV, and then suddenly he yelled on the phone. He said, whoa! And I turned around. I looked at the TV. The second tower was on fire. I said, what happened? He said, another plane just went in the second tower. I said, you saw that? He said, yeah, it was a big, like a jet, went right into the second tower. I said, I'll call you back. But the commentator on CNN said, one has to think there's some sort of navigational error going on here. I said, navigational error? You doofus. This is the clearest day in the history of New York City. You have 2 jumbo jets going. This is called terrorism. I called that pastor back later on that day. I said, we're going to come to your church and talk about Islam, because that's what this is about. Now, 9/11 was over 10 years ago. But if I asked any of you where you were 9/11, 2011, which was what, 4 or 5 months ago? There's not a person in this room that can tell me unless you had an impact event that day. Do you think a resurrection would have been an impact event? Do you think if he truly rose from the dead, that they would remember everything Jesus was doing, everything Jesus was saying, everything they were doing, everything they were saying till the day they died? Yeah, I think so. That's the only way you can point out or explain why they would have abandoned their long-term relationship that they thought they had with God for a different one virtually overnight. In fact, here's a good question to ask. What did the New Testament writers have to gain by making up a new religion? What did they have to gain? What did they get by saying Jesus had risen from the dead? Well, they got beaten, tortured, and killed. Last time I checked, that was not a list of perks. Hey, we're going to start a new religion. We are? Yeah. What's it going to get us? It's going to get us beaten, tortured, and killed. Well, sign me up. Why haven't we thought of this earlier? What a great idea. No, I don't think so. In fact, they had every motive to say the resurrection did not happen, not every motive to say it did. You know, people always ask me, well, what non-Christian sources do we have for Jesus and Christianity? Well, we've got plenty. I've already briefly mentioned them. But you know what? At the end of the day, they're really irrelevant. Why? Because the best sources we have as to what happened are in these documents here. And a lot of people think, well, these are biased documents written by religious people who made it up. Why would they make it up? They had every motive to say it wasn't true, not every motive to say it was if it didn't happen. You see, we have our bias backwards. We think these are the biased documents. They're not biased at all. Not in that sense anyway, because they had everything to lose by saying it was true. And they went ahead and said it was true anyway, which is telling us what? That it must have been true.